Guten Morgen, ich heiße Jacob und ich bin ein Norse Pagan. And that is the extent of my German for today, besides where we're about to go, which is the Freidensengel, or the Freidensengel. Either way, it sounds very similar to Freya, which you'll see why. It has a very gold Valkyrie-looking thing. I'm sure it's supposed to be an angel or something like that, but to me, it's a Valkyrie. Now, it does actually have a Greek design to it as well, so, I mean, there's definitely a mythological element to it. Regardless, we're going there to talk about a subject today and answer a question and give some advice. So one of the questions I still get asked all the time, and it's going to be kind of hard, loosey-goosey to give an answer to it, but the question I get all the time is, how do you know which deity is reaching out to you, or how do you know how to connect to each individual deity that you want to? And I think it mostly comes from people that are having experiences. They have that first rush, that first excitement. They're like, whoa, is this religion? Is this spirituality? Is this a god? And they're having these experiences and they don't know what they are and they don't know what name to place to them. And so oftentimes I think they reach out to someone like me and they're like, who do you think it is? And so that's what I kind of want to make this whole video about. I can't necessarily tell you who it is. It's ultimately going to come down to your personal experience, but I'm going to give you some advice on certain deities and overall how I've experienced it and how I've gone through it to figure out which deity has been kind of reaching out or connecting, or I've been connecting with through this strange and wonderful religion. So without further ado, let us head down to the Freidensengel and show you its beauty and then discuss this topic. Prost. Norse God. So normally I only have the intro beauty be a few seconds, but I really wanted to extend this one so you could really capture the beauty of this place. It's one of my favorite places that I discovered last year, and I was so excited to come back and film a video. I do apologize for the road noise. It's very close to the road, but hopefully you're understanding that in my European videos, it is very hard to avoid outside noise and traffic. So regardless, let us talk about today's topic, which is, how do you know which deity is reaching out to you? So this is kind of complicated. Like I said, I feel it's wrong if someone comes to me and they say, hey, here's my vision. And then I'm like, oh, I think it's Odin, because then they're going to start thinking, well, then it has to be Odin. And then you kind of force it on them and they start changing their perspective. It should be a natural experience. And maybe this is because the age of, orally passed down knowledge, where you would have a shaman in your village or a priest or whatever you want to call them, and they would be the ones passing down knowledge between the village. And of course you could go up to them and be like, I had this vision, and then they would be like, oh, well, of course this is Odin. But because we have lost that validity, because we have lost that validation of knowledge in the histories, I like to be more cautious when it comes to saying these things, because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy practicing this faith, and I have a YouTube channel. So I don't want to be, I never want to make it seem like I'm the authority on the faith. So that's why I'm very cautious of this. But with that out of the way, I can kind of give you my advice. Like, if someone messages me and they say, hey, I saw a crow or a raven looking at me and I felt something. Chances are, yes, it could be Odin, but honestly, I want to step away from giving that advice. I think animals in general can be sent as messengers from the gods, or at least from the world all around us. And so just because you see a crow or a raven, I mean, crows in particular are popular everywhere. I see crows all the time here. I see them in Kentucky. Everywhere I go, I see crows. And so the chances of every crow being a sign from Odin is very low. And I don't even want to get into the crow-raven debate, not here. But regardless, I don't think every bird specifically is a sign for that specific deity. Now, let's say something like a hawk or a falcon. I think that... Wait for the second one. It's coming. There it is. And then we have about 10 seconds for the next one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's say you have a hawk show up out of nowhere and you never see hawks and never see falcons. Could that be a sign from specifically Freyr or Freya or any of the Vonic deities? Yes, I do believe so. But again, I don't think every crow necessarily is Odin. So again, this is where the advice becomes complicated. And this is, again, I've said this many times on the channel, this is where you have to trust yourself. If you felt that an initial gut reaction, the moment you saw something, the moment you saw a sign, and you're like, that's Odin, then trust that gut sign. And this is something that's taken me a long time to get used to, is trusting what I feel when I have a spiritual experience. And as you mature and as you grow, this is something I'm still doing, you'll become more refined in your ability to realize what is contacting, what is connecting with you. And sometimes it's just the natural world. I mean, in me in particular, I just feel connected to nature. So maybe when you see a groundhog and you're like, whoa, what is that? Maybe it's just the land. Maybe it's just the land spirits. So just you know, don't pressure yourself. I do feel like a lot of us coming from a Christian background want to pressure ourselves into having specific answers for these experiences to validate that our experiences are real. I'm telling you right now, the thing I can validate is Norse paganism, the belief in the old ways, is 100% real. I've had such crazy experiences that I cannot deny the reality of this faith and the reality of the gods and all these things. So do not fear, the faith is real, but also don't put pressure on yourself to determine what every experience is. Oftentimes, I think you should just enjoy it. You know, looking back at my first experiences in the faith, like the first sign I ever felt, the first moment I ever felt the gods or felt the religion in general, you know, I've said this story so many times. I was waiting at a table at the restaurant I worked at, which is why I know the experience was real, is because I don't think I was having a religious experience serving eggs Benedict or an omelet to table 24 at the First Watch restaurant. No, I did not. That was not what triggered the experience. It was just something that happened, and you know, I had no animals nearby. There was no creepy old men nearby with wide-brimmed hats. There was none of that. And so I just had to be honest with myself. Well, I had a religious experience. Who was this? And this is where I can go to the next piece of advice here, which is actually more real advice than just saying like, trust yourself. So let's rotate down here so we have a scene change. All right, scene change complete. So this is probably the best advice I can give as far as determining what deity is contacting you. Reach out to deities that you think it is. So if you think that crow you saw was Odin, sit down, have an offering, like a beer, an apple, something, you know, especially when you're first getting started. I just gave an apple to Freyr 3 videos ago, and that's okay. So have that offering, sit down, and start calling out names to that deity. Odin, you know, Freyr, Freya, Skadi, Uller. And then once you start feeling a feedback, a little twinge from the other side, that's when you can start exploring it. You know, so let's say, I'm not gonna use Odin as an example, because I do feel like, again, a lot of people go to him first. Let's use Thor as an example, because I really do think I'm on this you should worship Thor more kick. So if you have a beer and you're like, I had an experience, I don't know what it was, so I'm gonna give an offering. So you sit down, you have the offering, and you say, Thor, Donar, Thunderer, pour out the drink. This gift is for you, if it is the one if you've been contacting me, if you're what's reaching out to me, so that I can learn strength and you know, the power of thunder, but also the strength of a home. So yes, maybe you start feeling something come from this interaction, and then you know to go a little bit more down the Thor rabbit hole. Maybe you don't really feel anything, then move to the next deity you feel it is. And then, you know, again, this is where this advice is hard, because maybe that's just, you're not in the right mindset. Having a clear head and not being jumbled up with the modern world while we can try to connect to these gods is one of the reasons I think it is really hard to connect with them, is because of phones. It's because when you're scrolling on Instagram, your mind is getting clogged, especially TikTok. If you have TikTok and you're like, man, I'm not having any religious experiences, but yet you're on TikTok 4 hours a day, get off TikTok. Trust me when I say just get off the addictive social media that serves no other purpose than make you a cash cow for the internet. Get off those things, and trust me, you'll be surprised how much more you can feel connected to the gods on the other side. So that's advice number 3. Get off your phones, get off the internet. If you want to start having more religious experiences, have more true idea of what is happening to you, get off your cell phones. You will be impressed how much that does. And then, you know, take that to the next step. Get off your cell phones, go outside, go into nature, be in the woods without internet, without social media, be safe, but do get rid of those things, isolate yourself, and you will be so impressed what you're able to feel and how much more clarity you will have with experiences. I know this has been a little all over the place, mostly it's because of my environment right now, but let's recap. So number 1, be honest with yourself. Be honest with your experiences. Don't make every crow a sign from Odin. Not every bird in the sky is a sign from the gods. Be honest when you have the experiences, and I would recommend writing them down so you understand. 2, sit down and ask that deities. Ask that deity you're talking with, giving an offering, you know, talking with them, calling out their names. You know, just spend moments with them to see if that's the connection you're feeling. And then advice number 3 is disconnect. Disconnect from the social media, disconnect from the modern world, and go out into nature and clear your mind so that you're more able to have these experiences and feel these deities and feel these gods and this religion. So this last section here, some of the last advice I have to give in this moment is, let's say you're at a beach or you're at an ocean and you feel something, you feel an experience, you see a seabird diving into the ocean. Where should you go from there? It's environmental. I mean, the gods of the sea, Njord, Aegir, Ran, and even sometimes Thor, that's a really good sign of where you should go. Now let's say you are wandering around and you see a mysterious man in a wide brim hat. It just, you know, could just be an old man with a hat, and you're like, that's very peculiar, and that sparks something in you. Maybe you should start going down that Odin track. Or perhaps you're doing research, you're at a library for college or even just your own research, and you're seeing and finding information, and then you have a rush of inspiration and knowledge. This to me is an Odin experience when you're gathering knowledge and you feel something, you have a spiritual connection to gathering knowledge. This is an Odin experience as well. If you're a farmer and you harvested good crops, I remember the first time I had some carrots grow on my balcony, and I was like, yes, it was kind of a Freyr experience. I'm like, I grew something, look at that. So really, this is, I kind of mentioned it already, having a journal and writing down what was happening around your experiences is really important. And you know, a lot of people take to messaging someone like me or someone else asking for what they thought the sign was. And so instead of messaging someone, I mean, you can do that. Write it down in your own personal journal. Start keeping a journal. I guarantee you 99% of the people that message me about what God am I experiencing right now, I guarantee you. Oh, hello. Excuse my line, my English is good.
Okay, do we disturb you?
No, I'm actually basically done. So.
Okay, that's it.
Now, the last thing I'll say here is I clearly need to wrap up this video because of how busy this spot is. Record those experiences, but understand that this is a lifelong path and you are not going to find all the answers right away, and that is okay. Take your time with it, enjoy the experience, enjoy those moments. They don't come all the time. You know, those moments of euphoria, that connection to the gods, that connection to the other world, it doesn't come all the time. And you're going to go through dry spells as you get more cluttered and disconnected. But when you always have time to return to the faith, or whenever you have that next experience, it's so magical and it's so worth it. But just please take your time and enjoy it. And with that, I'm going to end this video. Sorry for all the mania and the madness, but I hope you enjoyed the beauty of this location. I hope this advice was helpful for you. This advice, I wanted to be very raw and very real, of like, I was just having a conversation with you at your house or around with a cup of coffee with a bottle of mead, sharing around candlelight. So I hope it was helpful. What a day of filming it has been. So thank you all so very much for joining me, and yeah, enjoy it, disconnect to reconnect, all those cheesy lines, and until the hall. Let's go. Hello once again at the end of this video. If you found it helpful, make sure you like and subscribe and all that stuff. I mean, if you made it here to the end, you're one of the like 40% that actually go all the way through. So thank you, you're special. You're better than the rest of the 60% that don't watch it to the very end. But also, if you love this channel and you love this content and you found this video helpful, this is a one-man band. I'm the one operating the camera, the one buying the coffee, the one finding these locations, writing the scripts, and filming and editing them and all that stuff. So if you want to support me as a creator, head on down to Patreon, where I offer many benefits as well, including our community Discord. It means a lot, it helps a lot, and it really keeps this ship a-going. So thank you all so very much for whatever help you're able to provide, but most importantly, thank you for watching this video. Also, this entire post has been swarming with ants, and I thought it was sweat dripping down my back, and it was not, as I realized the sweat was biting me, and it was actually ants.